Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Entering the realm between the hidden and forgotten, a slipstream caught between realities, a secret museum of the esoteric, the private library of shadows, all taking place in a world forged from mystery and caught between logic and myth. You are entering ParaReality.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of ParaReality Flashback, where I revisit a past episode of the podcast. And tonight, I'm continuing with Season 1, Episode 4, Spontaneous Human Combustion. Spontaneous Human Combustion, or SHC as it's known, is the alleged rare phenomena of a human body bursting into flames and burning to ash without any type of external ignition source. Reported cases often feature near total incineration of the body while surroundings remain largely undamaged. While sometimes attributed to supernatural causes, scientists largely consider this to be a myth, likely explained by the wick effect, where clothing and body fat act as, well, a candle. And this was something that I had somewhat of a fascination with at the time that I did this episode, and I put a fair amount of research into it, and I think you'll be able to tell that as you listen. Of course, this was only my 4th episode ever, so I was still trying to find what the identity of the show was, trying to find what my identity was, and remember that I only had a cheap headset microphone that I plugged directly into the computer through the 3.5 millimeter jack. So the quality isn't the greatest, and I'm certainly not at the peak of my performance at this point in time. And you'll also notice me referencing some outdated stuff like chatrooms and Microsoft NetMeeting, stuff like that. And those things are, well, they're not in existence anymore, and it kind of brings back a lot of memories. But before I put you into the time machine, I need to tell you something. I'm heading back to Bigfoot country. I finally got a notification on May 2nd. You're going to find me deep in the heart of the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival in Townsend, Tennessee, surrounded by the mountains, the mystery, and a whole community that knows there's more out there than what we can explain. Like I said, I just got notified that I'm going to be a podcaster there. So I'll be there podcasting live for the ParaReality podcast, meeting listeners and connecting with fellow researchers, and most importantly, seeking your paranormal encounters. Have you seen something you can't explain? Heard something in the woods that shouldn't be there? Experienced a moment that stayed with you ever since? If you're going to be there, I want to hear your story. This is your chance to share it, whether it's Bigfoot, cryptids, UFOs, or anything that defies explanation. I'll be conducting interviews throughout the day, capturing real accounts from real people, people who are attending the festival. It's the kind of stories that keeps all these mysteries alive. So, if you're going to be at the festival, come find me. Come find my tent. I'll be in the podcasters area. Step up to the mic. Tell me your story, and let's explore the unknown together. Because out there in the shadows of the Smokies, the truth is still waiting to be told. And now that I've told you that, I hope that you'll take the time to listen to at least part of this episode, because, like I said, I wasn't at my best then. So without further delay, putting you in the time machine, I'm sending you all the way back to February the 6th, 2004, where you'll be listening to what was then called the ParaReality Radio, Episode 6, Spontaneous Human Combustion. Hope you enjoy it.
Hello and welcome to ParaReality Radio. I'm your host, Sandman. It's Friday, February the 6th, 2004. This is a pre-recorded show tonight, so for all of you who are out there listening, this is not a live show. This is a pre-recorded show. As you are hearing this, I am currently in Jackson, Mississippi, doing a paranormal investigation of a supposed haunting down there, and I'll hopefully, when I get back and do the next live show, which will be February the 20th at 10 p.m., I hopefully will have a nice little report for you on my activities down there in Jackson, Mississippi, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what's going on with that towards the end of the show this evening. Like I said, this is a pre-recorded broadcast being broadcast on Friday, February the 6th, 2004. Next live broadcast will be February 20th, 2004 at 10 p.m. So there will not be a chat room open tonight. There will not be the net meeting open tonight where you can call in and try and chat with me live on the air. So don't try to find the chat room. Don't try and call in, please. This is a pre-recorded show once again. Thank you. Coming to you from the great city of Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Sandman. Tonight's topic is going to be one of my favorite topics. I had, when I was over on the other network, the Alternicast network, I know if you've ever listened to my show at all before, you know that I frequently bring up the Alternicast network. I don't know how to explain that over there. I was happy doing my broadcast over there at Alternicast, but for some reason they decided to pull the plug on the whole operation and just, without warning, shut the whole site down, leaving a whole bunch of us talk jockeys over there just stranded. Took my money, and I'm sure they took a lot of other people's money with them when they folded their business under, which really pissed me off. But anyway, that's where ParaReality Radio started. And one of the things that I wanted to do over on the Alternicast network was do a show on this topic that I'm about to tell you about. It's one of my favorite topics. I first learned of this whenever I was a kid. I was watching some show. I can't remember what the name of it was. I think it might have been that Leonard Nimoy Unexplained show. I can't remember the name of the title of the show. But it was about spontaneous human combustion, or SHC as it's come to be known. This just really fascinated me, and I wanted really, really badly to do a show over on Alternicast about spontaneous human combustion. And of course, before I could get around to it, they shut the whole site down, and I never did get to do it. So tonight, I am pleased to say that I am going to do a show, going to devote a whole show to spontaneous human combustion. Now, we'll be doing another segment to this sometime in the future, and it will be a live show where you can call in and talk to me, and I can get your theories and interact with you about what you think causes SHC. So I'm really looking forward to that show as well. Tonight, of course, is pre-recorded, so I won't be able to interact with you at all tonight, but after you listen to the show, if you'll shoot me an email and let me know what your theories are, what you think causes SHC, how we can prevent it, maybe even how we can detect it, anything of that nature, shoot me an email. My email address is prradio@50g.com. That's 50g.com. prradio@50g.com. I thought that was a cool email address when I first got it, and the more I say 50g.com, I realize the more confusing it is. I guess I'm going to have to get another email address because I don't. The more I think about it, the less and less I like it. So just be on the lookout for a new email address for PR Radio here pretty soon.
Adobe Acrobat, your new foundation. Use PDF spaces to generate a presentation. Grab your docs, your permits, your moves. AI levels up your pitch, gets it in a groove. Choose a template with your timeless cool. Come on now, let's flex those tools. Draft, design, deliver, make it sing. AI builds the deck so you can build that thing. Do that, do that, do that with Acrobat. Learn more at adobe.com/do-that-with-acrobat.
And before I begin, I want to give another shout out to my homies over there at Vlad's Vault out there in Cyberland on the World Wide Web. Vlad's Vault, if you listen to my show, the last live show I had 2 weeks ago, Vlad's Vault came on to ParaReality Radio as the first official sponsor of the show. They can be found at www.vladsvault.com. Vlad's Vault is a horror movie review and information site. Over there at Vlad's Vault, you can read reviews of all kinds of different horror movies, or if you'd like, you can even post your own review of any kind of movie. Mainly horror related, but any guest, anyone can post a review of a movie, or they can just simply read whatever review they want to read. If you're thinking about seeing a bad movie or renting a movie or something like that, they have reviews of old, new, and in-between movies, and they're all horror related. They also have a lot of links to other horror related sites for all of you horror fans out there, and they also have a pretty nice section that gives a biography and filmography of some of your favorite horror movie actors, along with a nice collection of horror-related wallpapers for you to download for your computer. Or you can just simply visit the forum section, which is a bulletin board type thing, and you can just state whatever's on your mind there. You can read the forums, post in the forums if you'd like to. But I invite everyone within the sound of my voice, anyone who listens to the show, to please go visit www.vladsvault.com. And while you're over there, do visit the forum section or even sign the guest book and tell Vlad and Igor that Sandman sent you over there, and tell them what a great site that thing is. I really like that site. I go to it a lot. It's a pretty fun site. So thanks, Vlad. Thanks, Igor. Keep up the good work with your site, and I welcome you on board to ParaReality Radio as first official sponsor. All right. Let's get on with the show, and let's start talking a little bit about spontaneous human combustion. This is a fascinating subject to me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start out, and I'm going to tell you a little story. Excuse me, I have something in my throat. I'm going to start out, I'm going to tell you a little story, and then I'm going to talk about some of the theories of some of the more popular theories about what causes spontaneous human combustion. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to tell you what I think about the whole thing. And I'll wind up the show, give you some things about what happens, what remains to the human body after a spontaneous human combustion event, and a couple of other little tidbits of information. And at the very end of the show, I'm going to close it up with, of course, my ever-popular News of the Strange segment. And I'm going to keep on doing News of the Strange until I get some, emails out there, enough emails from enough of you fans that says that sucks, stop it. It was one of my more popular segments when I first started the show over on that other ass-licking network over there. So that's how I'm going to end my show up, is by doing some News of the Strange this evening. Once again, I invite you to give me an email, shoot it to me, let me know what you think about the show, about the program in general, and any information or that you want me to know, any theories that you got about SHC, comments, questions, suggestions about the show, ideas for topics that you'd like to hear discussed. Anything at all about the show, please email me, prradio@50g.com. All right, let's get on with spontaneous human combustion. I'm going to tell you this little story right here. On the evening of Sunday, July the 1st, 1951, a lady by the name of Miss Mary Reeser, who was 77, was kind of like in a depressed mood that evening. So she wasn't feeling all that hot. She sat down in this big overstuffed armchair. That was her favorite armchair that she used to sit in. She sat down in this thing, lit up a cigarette, and started smoking it. Around 9 o'clock that evening, her landlady, a woman by the name of Mrs. Pansy Carpenter, just went up to see her, just called on her to say good night. According to Miss Carpenter, Mrs. Reeser showed no signs that she was ready to go to bed or do anything except just sit around and sit there in her chair and just kind of think about what was going on in her life. It was a hot evening down in St. Petersburg, Florida, where this occurred. So Mrs. Carpenter said her good night. She goes to bed, and somewhere around 5 o'clock the next morning, Miss Carpenter woke up to a smell of smoke. Now, she assumed that it was a water pump that she had that had been overheating, so she went out to the garage, turned off the water pump, went back to bed. Then she was awakened again at 8 o'clock by a telegraph boy who had a telegram from Mrs. Reeser. So Miss Carpenter signed for it, and she took it up to Mrs. Reeser's room. Now, imagine this. I'm sure she was really, really surprised because when she touched the doorknob, it was hot, like there was a fire going on. So she panicked, didn't know what to do, ran out into the street, started shouting for help, and there were two decorators who were working across the street at another house. They heard her shouts. They came over to her house to find out what was going on. Well, one of them placed a cloth over the doorknob and turned. Now, when he opened it up, he was met by a blast of hot air in his face as he opened this door. But yet the place seemed totally empty, and just at first glance they didn't see any kind of a fire whatsoever. But then they noticed a big blackened circle on the carpet where Mrs. Reeser had her armchair. Only a few springs was all that was left of that chair. And in the midst of those springs, there was a human skull that was charred to the size of a baseball, according to what they said, and a fragment of liver attached to the backbone. There was also a foot encased in a satin slipper, and it had been burnt down to the ankle. Miss Reeser apparently was a victim of this baffling phenomenon that we call spontaneous human combustion, or SHC. There have been hundreds of recorded cases of this. Now, yet, in their standard textbook called Forensic Medicine, the two doctors that wrote it, a Dr. S.A. Smith and a Dr. F.S. Fettis, they both of them assert matter-of-factly, quote, spontaneous combustion of the human body cannot occur, and no good purpose can be served by discussing it, end quote. This is a typical example of the kind of wishful thinking in which doctors and scientists are prone to indulge when they confront a fact that falls outside of their range or their scope of experience. This example that I just stated about Mrs. Reeser is worth citing because it's mentioned by a Professor John Taylor in his book called Science and the Supernatural. This is a book whose chief purpose it is to debunk the whole idea of anything paranormal, which, according to Professor Taylor, tends to crumble to nothing as it's scientifically appraised. But then he then proceeds to flatly just out and out admit that there are instances that seem reasonably well validated, and he cites this case of Mrs. Reeser. So, what are some popular theories that causes spontaneous human combustion? Well, it used to be thought that alcoholism caused spontaneous human combustion. Many SHC victims have been alcoholics, but in the 19th century, they did some experiments, and they demonstrated that flesh that was impregnated, for lack of a better word, that flesh that was impregnated with alcohol will not burn with intense heat that's normally associated with SHC. So that just blew that theory out of the water. Another theory is deposits of flammable body fat. A lot of the victims have been overweight, but that theory gets blown out of the water because there have been plenty of victims who have not been overweight. As a matter of fact, they've been the opposite. They've been kind of skinny. A third popular theory is the divine intervention theory. Centuries ago, people felt that the explosion or the burning was a sign from God of divine punishment. Now, some cases that may still be, but it's not a real popular theory anymore. Another theory is buildup of static electricity. That how you scrape your feet on the carpet and you go touch the doorknob and the sparks shoot off. Some people thought that a huge buildup of this static electricity could occur inside the body, and something spark or something like that, and you burst into flames. But there's no known form of electrostatic discharge that could cause a human to burst into flames. Another theory is an explosive combination of chemicals that can form in the digestive system due to poor diet. Haven't been able to find out a lot about this theory. As a matter of fact, I hadn't even heard of this theory until I was researching material for my show, but that is apparently one of the more popular theories out there. Electrical fields that exist within the human body might be capable of short-circuiting it somehow is another theory, and that some sort of atomic chain reaction can generate tremendous internal heat inside the body, and the body just, boof, explodes into flames, bursts into flames. But really, if you look at all of these theories, there's 6 or 7 of them, there's really not any satisfactory explanation of SHC, and none's ever been given, and it's really still an unsolved mystery. And who knows when if we will ever get to the bottom of this thing. Now, 29 years after the Mrs. Reeser case, and we're jumping forward in time to October of 1980, there's a case of spontaneous human combustion that was observed at close quarters when a naval airwoman whose name was Jenna Winchester was driving along with a friend named Leslie Scott along Seaboard Avenue in Jacksonville, Florida. Just out of the blue, suddenly Jenna Winchester just burst into flames, into yellow flames, and she started screaming, "Get me out of here!" Her friend, Leslie Scott, tried to beat out the flames with her hands, lost control of the car, and the car ran into a phone pole. Now, when Miss Winchester was examined, it was found that approximately 20% of her body was covered with burns, but she survived. Now, there was a book written by a man named Michael Harrison, and it was about SHC, called Fire from Heaven. It was written in 1976. It cites dozens of cases, and they make it clear that the chief mystery of SHC is that it seldom spreads beyond the person that it's confined to. On Whit Monday in 1725, and I don't know exactly where this occurred. I can't find out exactly where it occurred. There was a lady by the name of Nicole Millay. She was the wife of the landlord of the Lion d'Or, and she was found burned to death in an unburned armchair, and her husband was accused of killing her. However, luckily for him, there's a young surgeon whose name was Claude Nicolas Lecat, who succeeded in persuading the court that spontaneous human combustion actually does occur, and Millay was acquitted. The verdict was that his wife had died by a visitation of God, going back to that divine intervention theory that I was just talking about earlier. Now, this case inspired a Frenchman called Johann Dupont to gather all the evidence he could find for SHC and publish it in a book that he printed in 1763. Another famous case sometime around this period is that of the Countess Cornelia de Bandi of Cessna, who was age 62 and was found on the floor of her bedroom by her maid. Her legs still had her stockings on them. They were untouched, and right in between them lay her half-burned-up head. The rest of the body was reduced to total ashes, and the air in the room was absolutely full of floating soot. The bed was undamaged, and the sheets had been thrown back on it, like as if she had gotten out to maybe open a window or something, and then like just the flames just like consumed her like real quick like that, and she stood upright, burned up, her head fell down between the legs. Now, unlike the wife of the innkeeper Millet that I just mentioned, the Countess had not been a heavy drinker, which goes back to the more popular theory back then that alcoholism caused spontaneous human combustion. Apparently, Mrs. Millet was an alcoholic or a heavy drinker, but the Countess Cornelia de Bandi was not much of a drinker at all. So that kind of starts to blow the water out of the alcoholism theory. Now, there were two 19th century novelists who used SHC to dispose of unwanted characters in their books. A man by the name of Captain Marryat borrowed details from a Times report of 1832 to describe the death of the mother of his hero, Jacob Faithful, in the novel of the same name, of course, Jacob Faithful. Person was reduced to a sort of, this is a quote, a sort of uncutus pitchy cinder, end quote, in her bed. 20 years later, in 1852, Dickens put it into his drunken rag and bone dealer, Crook, in Bleak House, the book Bleak House, by means of spontaneous human combustion. In the book, Crook is like charred to a cinder that looks like a burnt log. A man by the name of G.H. Lewis, George Eliot's lover, took issue with Dickens and declared that spontaneous human combustion was impossible. So, in his preface to Bleak House, Dickens contradicts Lewis and cites something like 30 examples from press reports. But yet, at the end of his article on Crook in the Dickens Encyclopedia that was written in 1924, the guy that wrote it, Arthur L. Hayward, states just dogmatically, emphatically, that, quote, the possibility of spontaneous combustion in human beings has been finally disproved, end quote. However, after saying this, after writing this, he completely fails to explain what experiments have finally disproved it. So he states nothing to prove that anything has disproven SHC. So once again, we go back to people in the early 19th century, and even beyond that, or before that, should I say, would just come up with theories and state, well, the sky is not actually purple, or excuse me, the sky is not actually blue, the sky is actually purple, and the reason we're seeing blue is because of a refraction from the iridescent radiation that's floating in the atmosphere. But they would have nothing to prove that. They would just come up with these wild theories and say, well, this is this because of that, and that's all you need to know. No proof, they just said stuff. And here's another prime example of it. Harrison's book, which gathers together the result of many studies, leaves really no possible doubt of the reality of SHC, but no one knows what causes it. So at present, you gotta confess that this phenomenon is actually just totally baffling. There's no known cause for it. There's no medical cause for it. Don't know what's going on with it. But Harrison offers some interesting clues. For example, he talks about the researches of a doctor called Maynard Coe Jr., who was interested in the subject of psychokinesis or telekinesis, which is mind over matter. Dr. Coe was able to move aluminum strips pivoted on the points of needles by moving his hand over them. And this was obviously due to some sort of natural magnetism that he had. So he began various yoga exercises in an attempt to develop his bioelectricity that was coursing through his body. One day he'd sit in an easy chair, and as he was doing this, he felt a powerful current passing downward from his head throughout the rest of his body. And now he thought that this current was high voltage but low amperage. Later on, he suspended a cardboard box from the ceiling on a piece of string and found that he could cause it to move from a distance, but the room had to be like dry. And this distance that he could move this box from was like 8 feet. And when I say dry, I'm not talking about, there had to be no water on the floor. I'm talking about the dryness of the air, the humidity of the air. He could be standing like as far as 8 feet away from this box and move it. Well, then he got this idea to charge his body up with 35,000 volts DC, using, of course, an electric current, and he found that he could move the box in exactly the same way. So this seemed to prove that he was, in fact, generating a high voltage current with his mental exercises. He also took an airplane, flew up to 21,000 feet, where there the air is extremely dry. 21,000 feet. It's cold, too. But he produced electric sparks after he charged his body to 35,000 volts. Dr. Coe's theory was that this could explain the phenomenon of levitation, with positively charged human body repelling the negatively charged Earth. So that's a pretty cool theory. I don't know that I would want to, charge my body up with 35,000 volts, though, just to prove something like that. Now, remember, all this was coming from a book written by a man named Harrison. And this Harrison guy also cites cases of human batteries and magnet people, like usually children, who have developed like a powerful electric charge. For example, in 1877, Caroline Clare of London, Ontario, actually turned into something like a human magnet. She attracted metal objects, and she could give like really powerful electric shocks to as many as 20 people who would be like standing in a line holding hands. At the time all this was going on, she was an adolescent, and she was suffering through bouts of depression. Now, whether that had anything to do, we don't know, but this is kind of vaguely familiar with the poltergeist activity. If you know anything about poltergeist is German for noisy ghost, and it's generally thought now these days that poltergeist activities occur around young adolescent kids who are going through puberty, everyone's going through that rough time in their life, and that a poltergeist really isn't necessarily a noisy ghost. It's like some sort of psychokinetic energy that is being released by these kids who are going through this difficult time in their life. So this kind of is vaguely familiar to that to me. It sounds like it anyway. Now, a dude named Frank McKinstry of Joplin, Missouri, he turned into like a human magnet. His feet stuck to the ground. Now, I've never heard of anyone's feet sticking to the earth, but there are things in the earth. There are ores and stuff in the earth that you could actually, I guess, if you had a powerful enough magnet, I guess you could actually stick something to the earth. In 1895, there was another female, 14 years old. Her name was Jenny Morgan. She was living in Sedalia, Missouri, she generated a charge sufficient enough to knock down a grown man. And when she touched a pump handle, an old water pump handle that was down to the spring, when she touched this pump handle, sparks flew from her fingertips. Now, like I said, it's really worth mentioning that many teenagers who become the focus of these poltergeist effects develop magnetic or electrical properties. So once again, I'm going to refer back to my poltergeist theory. In 1846, there was another French girl named Angelique Catine. She became kind of like a human electric battery. Objects that touched her, they just flew off from her body violently. And there was a loom, which is like a thing that they used to sew with. It was made out of heavy oak. And whenever she walked near it, the loom began to dance around on the floor, bouncing up and down like crazy. Now, on the other hand, Esther Cox, the focus of this girl was the focus of the disturbances at the Great Amherst in Nova Scotia. She developed a magnetism that made cutlery, knives, forks, and spoons, fly to her and stick to her like something out of a movie. So it seems that there obviously have got to be two kinds of charges here when we're talking about this stuff. There's got to be obviously a positive charge, and there has to be a negative charge. According to Dr. Coe, each human muscle cell is a battery, and a cubic inch could develop as much as 400,000 volts. Now, if you're familiar with Nikola Tesla, which if you're listening to this show, you've got to be familiar with Nikola Tesla. Of course, he was an inventor, and he used to demonstrate that the human body can take immense electrical charges enough to light up a neon bulb, provided that the amperage is kept very low. So he would charge his body up the same way as dude would do that I just mentioned earlier. Like I said, I don't think I want to charge my body up with 35,000 volts, but apparently as long as you keep the amperage very low, you can charge your body up and hold a light bulb and let it light up. Why you'd want to, I don't know. But this seems unlikely to explain SHC. The whole point of Tesla's experiments was that he did not burst into flame. It's high amperage that causes people to burn up. Let's say if you've got two 12-volt car batteries and you connect them with a thin wire, the wire will melt. Even thick wire will get really hot. And this could begin to explain why the surroundings of victims of SHC are undamaged, because they're non-conductors. Victims of SHC tend to be the old and the young. And you say, well, what is there? Well, there's middle-aged people, okay? They're either going to be old or they're going to be young. Let's see. On August 27th, 1938, there's a 22-year-old girl. And you notice there's a lot of women that are these SHC victims. So, you're beginning to see a pattern here, and you're thinking, I think it's occurring more in females than it is in men. Well, you're right. And most of the females are what? They're young. In August of 1938, a 22-year-old girl by the name of Phyllis Newcomb was dancing at a dance hall over in England in Chelmsford, Essex, over there across the pond, and her body started glowing with like a blue light, which mysteriously, suddenly, unexplainably turned into flames. And she died within minutes. Another case, in October of the same year, another young girl named Maybelle Andrews was dancing at a Soho nightclub with her boyfriend, Billy Clifford, when the flames erupted from her back, chest, and shoulders. Now, Mr. Clifford, who was badly burned trying to put her out, said that there were no flames in the room, that the flames seemed to just come from the girl, Maybelle Andrews, herself. She died on the way to the hospital. In such cases like this, it seems just conceivable to me that the activity of the dancing built up some kind of electrical charge somehow. Michael Harrison, the author of this book that I've been talking about, he even points out that ritual dancing is used by primitive tribes to build up emotional tension in religious ceremonies, and he suggests that this is what is happening here, that it's something very, very similar. He also points out some curious geographical links. On March 13th of 1966, 3 men were spontaneously combusted at the same time, but they weren't anywhere near each other. They were in different parts of the world. First guy, his name was John Greeley. He was the helmsman of a boat called the SS Ulrich. He was burnt to a complete cinder. I don't know how many miles off he was, but he was some miles west of Land's End. The other guy, George Turner, he was what they used to call a lorry driver. He was found burned up at the wheel of his lorry of course this was across the pond over there in the UK. He was found burned up in his lorry at Upton by Chester. The lorry was overturned in a ditch. And then in Holland, the third person that burned up was an 18-year-old man by the name of Willemton Burrick. He died at the wheel of his car. Now, as usual in such cases, the surroundings of all 3 men were undamaged. The author of the book that I've been talking about, Mr. Harrison, he pointed out that the 3 men were at the points of an equilateral triangle whose sides were exactly 340 miles long. So, is it conceivable that the Earth itself is discharging energy in like some sort of triangular pattern? That's a very interesting concept. There's another investigator by the name of Larry Arnold who expounded on this, and he put forward his own theory in a magazine called Frontiers of Science in a January of 1982 issue. His theory is that the so-called ley lines, the lines of Earth force, if you're familiar with ley lines, he suggested that these ley lines may somehow be involved in the spontaneous combustion. The man who discovered the ley lines, Alfred Watkins, he noted how frequently places called Brent occur on these ley lines. Now, Brent is an Old English form of the word burnt. And they're, B-R-E-N-T, B-U-R-N-T. Now, there are a lot of other, what they call ley hunters, L-E-Y hunters. Sounds kind of funny, that ley hunters, get it, ley? Okay, never mind, bad joke. A lot of other ley hunters have suggested that the megalithic stone circles are placed at crucial points on ley lines. For example, the Married Maidens in Cornwall, Stonehenge itself, used to be known as the Giant's Dance. It's been suggested that ritual dances occurred at places like this so the dancers could somehow interact with Earth energy. Now, the investigator Larry Arnold that I was just talking about, he drew a dozen or so of these major ley lines on a map of England, and then he set out to find if they were associated with any kind of mysterious fires. Now, he claims that one 400-mile-long fire line, as he calls it, passed through 5 towns where there were 10 unexplained mysterious blazes. He also said that several cases of SHC occurred along this fire line. He cited 4 cases which occurred on that line between 1852 and 1908. Now, the author Michael Harrison that I was just talking about, he believes that SHC is basically a mental freak where the mind somehow influences the body to build up immense charges. The answer could lie in either of these 2 theories, or maybe even in a combination of the 2. Now, what remains after a spontaneous human combustion event? Well, the body is normally more severe burned than one who has been caught in a normal fire. The burns are not distributed evenly over the body. The extremities are usually untouched by this fire, whereas the torso is usually the one that's suffering the severe burning. In some cases, the torso is completely destroyed, And the bones have been reduced to just ash. And if you know anything about cremation, it takes, or if you know anything about burning of the body or burns at all, it takes a tremendous amount of heat to reduce a body to nothing but ashes. I mean, yeah, you can burn up a dude, but if you reduce him to ashes like in a crematorium, that's some serious heat. Small portions of the body, like an arm, a foot, or maybe like even the head, usually remain unburned. Now, I know I did cite the one case where the lady's head was burnt up, but sometimes the head, sometimes not. It's like, A, E, I, O, U, sometimes Y, sometimes W, depends. Only objects immediately associated with the body have been burned. The fire never spreads anywhere away from the body. SHC victims have burned up in bed without the sheets catching on fire. Clothing worn is oftentimes barely even singed, and flammable materials that can be only inches away from this victim, this SHC, usually remain untouched. There's also been a greasy, sooty deposit noticed that covers like the ceilings in the wall, and it usually stops 3 or 4 feet above the floor. Objects above this 3 to 4 foot line show signs of heat damage, like melted candles, cracked mirrors, stuff like that. Now, although temperatures of about 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit are normally required to char a body so thoroughly, like in cremation, like I was talking about just a second ago, which these usually operate in the neighborhood of 2,000 degrees and leave bone fragments, which end. Okay? Now, although temperatures of about 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit normally required to char a body so thoroughly, frequently little or nothing around the victim is damaged, except maybe where the exact spot was where the victim burned up at. Now, what kind of types of spontaneous human combustion are we talking about here? Well, some events of SHC are witnessed, some aren't. All reported cases have occurred indoors. Whether it's inside a car, inside a house, inside something, they're never outside in the open. The victims usually were alone for long periods of time. Not all the time, but usually. Witnesses who were nearby, like in adjacent rooms, report never hearing any sounds like cries of pain or calls for assistance. Now, the witnesses who were right there by them usually do report hearing sounds of people, that the victim is screaming, crying, whatever. In the witness combustions, people are actually seen by witnesses to explode just explode in the flame most commonly. In these cases, the witnesses agree that there was no possible source of ignition and that the flames were seen to just like erupt directly from the victim's skin. Now, unfortunately, most of the known cases of this type are pretty poorly documented and basically unconfirmed, except for the few cases that I cited to you. Most of them are exactly that, poorly documented and basically unconfirmed. Sometimes there really aren't any flames at all seen by witnesses. There have been some non-fatal cases, but unfortunately the victims of these non-fatal cases generally don't have any better idea of what happened to them than do the investigators. But the advantage to this small group is that a survivor can confirm if an event had a simple explanation or not. So there are far fewer cases of SHC with survivors, though, that can be explained away by skeptics without a second look. Sometimes the victim develops burns on their bodies that have no known external cause. Now, this is pretty strange, and their wounds commonly start as like small discomfort, little prickly pains that slowly grows into large, like painful marks, painful burns. Sometimes the victim will exhibit a mysterious smoke from the body. Now, these are pretty odd and rare occurrences with SHC, but they do happen. and the smoke is seen to like just emanate from the person with no associated fire or source of smoke other than the person's body. So, we've talked about theories. We've talked about what remains after a SHC. We've talked about different kinds of SHC. But really, we can talk and talk and talk, but there's no explanation for what actually causes it. Now, I'm tending to lean more towards some sort of energy buildup within the body itself. Something happens. I don't think it's static. Like I said, there's no known static buildup that can occur in the body that's going to cause you to blow up. However, I do think there's some sort of energy in the body that builds up and releases it, turns into heat and releases itself. Anything that's in motion, and most things, not everything, but most things that are alive and anything that's in motion is generating heat. You're generating heat by walking. A freaking salamander, as a cold-blooded animal, generates heat by walking. Or running, however slow or fast it's doing it. But I think that there's some sort of energy buildup that's occurring in the body from something, that this energy gets so built up that it has to release itself, and when it releases itself in the form of this heat, and it comes from the inside, and you burst into flames, and you burn the fuck up. Now, what causes this energy? What kind of energy is it? I don't know. I don't think it's static in nature. Like I said, I just don't think that there's absolutely no proof of anything that says a person can build up that much static electricity. No known proof at all. Nothing. So what could cause this energy? I don't know. But it's the release of some sort of energy. Maybe the person is going through some bad times in their lives. Maybe it's some sort due to some emotional problems, high stress levels. Don't really think it has anything to do with drugs and or alcohol. I just think it's an unknown buildup of some unknown type of energy that releases itself in the form of flames. And when it releases itself as a violent explosion, so to speak, for lack of a better word, that causes you to just get burnt the fuck up. That's really what I think. Now, I'm not a scientist. I'm just a researcher. I don't have the knowledge or the know-how to go about trying to prove all this, but, I firmly believe that given enough time, just about any mystery can be solved. And if the good Lord up above sees fit to let the human population of the earth survive long enough, there will be a cause figured out for SHC, and there will be some way, hopefully, to prevent it. That's just my theory. So, what do you think? I think that you need to send me an email and let me know. trradio@50g.com. Shoot me an email. Tell me if you got any theories. Tell me if you think that I'm just totally full of crap. Tell me if you think that any of these other people that have their theories, tell me if you think they're full of crap. Let me know. Shoot me an email. Like I said, this is a pre-recorded show tonight. I'm not live, so there's no chat room. There's no net meeting. You're just going to have to shoot me an email. And if you people who are listening out there get the balls up enough to send me an email, yes, that's right, I'm challenging you to send me an email. If you grow some balls, grow some hair on your little nuts, and send me an email, I'll read it on the air on the 20th, live on the air. And I record all my shows, so if you can't be here live on the air on the 20th, you can hear it rebroadcast. But I will read your letter live on the air, your email, and I'll answer it. If you say that I think Sandman's an idiot, I think he's a dick, I will say that on the air. I don't care. I mean, you've got your right to your opinion just like I do mine. But I challenge you to send me an email and let me know what you think. Give me some of your input. Okay? Come on. I know you can do it. Well, that's my show on spontaneous human combustion, but the complete show's not over with yet. I told you that the reason this is a rebroadcast and not a live show this week is because I'm going to Jackson, Mississippi. Of course, I'm actually pre-recording this show the weekend before, and not going to broadcast it until Friday the 6th. But let me give you a little bit of background about this investigation that I'm going to see. If you're a fan of the show and have been following the show for any length of time, you know that I hold a certification as a ghost hunter, and I'm also a certified paranormal investigator through the International Ghost Hunter Society. Now, I've got contacts in Mississippi, and it seems as if there is a gentleman down in Jackson whose mother's husband, obviously not his biological father, but his stepfather, had died. The lady did not live anywhere close to her son. The son goes to her house to help her clean up everything after her husband had died, help her sort through all his stuff. So what he does is he takes all of the dude's stuff and trashes it, sets it out by the road for the garbage man to pick up, and just gets rid of it, disposes of it all. Goes back home. Well, the guy's mother, a couple of weeks later, starts calling and says that her husband has been showing up wanting to know what's happened to all his stuff. Now, of course, you know, homeboy's dead. So she keeps telling her son that her deceased husband is showing up wanting to know what's happened to all his stuff. So her son goes down to where she's at, packs up all her crap, moves her to Jackson, Mississippi with him. Well, seems like the ghost of the husband has followed her to Jackson, Mississippi, because not too long after she got there, she once again starts saying, dude's ghost has followed her here and is demanding to know what has happened to his stuff. Now, there's also been some unexplained noises coming from the attic, stuff like thumps and thuds, no classic chain rattling, no ghost going boo or anything like that, but there have been some unexplained noises coming from the attic of this house. And the guy was put in contact with me, and he has requested that I come down there and do an investigation. So on the 20th, I am going to give you the results of my investigation. Good, bad, ugly, in between, whatever. That's what my show on the 20th is going to be about. It's going to be about the Jackson, Mississippi ghost investigation. So that's going to be, I hope, a really, really interesting show. Like I always say, turn on, tune in, and find out, and make damn sure you do it on the 20th, because I'm going to be having a live show. And I'm going to give you the results of that investigation. So that's where I'm at tonight while you're listening to this, is down in Jackson, Mississippi. And it seems like the whole show has been kind of had Jackson, Mississippi, or Mississippi in it from the beginning, and not so much the middle, but now here at the end we've been talking about Mississippi. Well, I'm going to take a pause for the cause, and while I'm taking this pause, I'm going to let you listen to this song by one of my favorite artists, Miss Sheryl Crow, who, by the way, is moving here to Nashville. Yay, maybe I'll run into her. This song is off of her album, The Globe Sessions. It's called Mississippi, and I just think that it's a very appropriate song to play. And I'm going to dedicate this to my best friend in the whole world, who just happens to live close to Jackson, Mississippi. I'm going to be staying with him while I'm down there doing my investigation. So, Ryder, this is for you. You need to listen closely to the words, because I think it fits you just perfectly, my friend. This is Miss Sheryl Crow with the song Mississippi. And hopefully everything will work out right. If you guys know, I've been having some technical difficulties with my live show. Not so much my pre-recorded shows, but my live show. So hopefully this song is going to work out all right here. Okay? Sheryl Crow with Mississippi. When I come back, I'll wind the show up with news of the strange.
Nope, I am not playing that. I love Sheryl Crow, but I no longer possess the license to play music, so I have to cut all that stuff out of these old podcasts. Back in the Live 365 days, which is when I was doing this flashback episode, I had a license to play any music that I wanted to. Can't do that on podcasts. So, hate to disappoint you, but there's no Sheryl Crow, no Mississippi.
Struggling with weight loss? Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet is a clinically developed nutrition program designed to promote fat loss while protecting lean body mass. Developed at USC's Longevity Institute, it assists the body in entering a fasting-like state that helps reset metabolism and target visceral fat. In just 5 days, Prolon offers a science-backed approach to weight loss without extreme restriction or guesswork. Get 15% off plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe at prolonlife.com/now.
All right, that was Sheryl Crow with Mississippi off her album The Globe Sessions. Sheryl is one of my favorite artists and writer. That tune was for you, buddy. I hope you listened to the chorus of that damn thing. All right, let's wind the show down, shall we? I'm going to end my show with my ever-popular segment, News of the Strange. I think I ought to start calling it News of the Stupid. I don't know. What do you think? Send me an email. PRRadio@50G.com. Let me know what you think about this segment of the show. Let me know if you think I need to revamp it. Let me know if you think I need to rename it. Let me know if you think I need to cut it out. Whatever. Anyway, moving along with News of the Strange. I'm going to start out here with the religious segment of News of the Strange. We're going to talk a little bit about the latest religious crap that's going on. There's a televangelist by the name of Joyce Meyer, who seems to have risen from the pack of TV ministers and from the ordinariness of her pre-preaching life by her uninhibited pursuit of donations, which totaled $95 million in 2003. This is according to a December St. Louis Post-Dispatch profile. Now, this is what she says, okay? I'm going to quote this. Quote, "Make your checks payable to Joyce Meyer Ministries," end quote. She shouts this. And million, this is her saying this again, and million is spelled M-I-L-L-I-O-N. Now, once she received $1 million in stocks as a donation from a worshiper, and she said that I didn't have that gift for 5 minutes, and I said, okay, God, next I'll take $5 million. She reminds her parishioners that fear, as in their fear of making sacrifices in order to have more money to give to her, is the work of the devil. What a money-grubbing, money-hungry, gold-digging fucking bitch. I really, you know what? I have no problem with televangelists. Let me back this up. I have no problem with religion. Televangelists, on the other hand, I have problems with. They are some of the lowest scum-sucking, ass-licking people that dwell on the face of this beautiful earth that we're on. They help to make this place look crap. I cannot stand damn televangelists. All they want to do is preach their hypocritical God message to you to make them rich. Okay? Look at what they do for a living. They preach. Preachers are not supposed to make millions and millions of dollars a year like these people do. Okay? You're supposed to sacrifice for the Lord. You're not sacrificing for shit, buddy. You don't even believe that God exists as far as I'm concerned. You're using God to make yourself rich, and I think that you should rot in hell. As a matter of fact, if I could fucking stab your ass in the damn back, like you're stabbing people in the back every day by getting them to write you checks for money that these people don't freaking have, I would freaking do it. I'd go jack the fucking river off on your ass and sever your damn head from your shoulders. I hate fucking televangelists. They should all rot in hell. Excuse me. here's a real good one. 10 months before the elections of the presidential elections here in America, God seems to have handicapped the 2004 presidential race. Says it's a blowout victory for President Bush. Now, this is according to that dumbass Pat Robertson on his Christian Broadcasting Network program, the 700 Club, which I'm sure everyone has heard of the 700 Club. Now, he just said this month here in January. God has said that it's going to be a blowout for President Bush. Now, everybody knows that Robertson is a Republican, and I think he's even tried to run for presidential nomination a couple of times, and he's never done it. Guess what, Pat? Fuck you. You're an idiot. There's, over in Connecticut, Governor John Rowland. He's been in some deep trouble for having taken favors from contractors and then lying about it under oath later on. He says that he can't resign now because God spoke to him directly and ordered him to hang in and defend himself. Now, hey, come on, buddy. Okay? We're talking about God here. Okay, John? God does not come to people and say, don't resign from your office of governor because you've gotten caught in a lie. God saves his crap for bigger stuff than your little fucked up ass, okay? You're going to get out of there, buddy. You're headed for impeachment or whatever the hell it is they do to governors. You're gone. Shut the fuck up. Take it like a man. Anyway, that's my religious topics here. In Clearwater, Florida, a lady by the name of Mary Denise Flowers, this is my dumb criminals category now coming into view here. Clearwater, Florida, Mary Denise Flowers was arrested for stealing a $20,000 ring from Littman Jewelers. The key prosecution evidence came about several days after the robbery when Miss Flowers, whose MO, modus operandi, was to take the ring and swallow it at the scene of the crime. So they had to wait until she passed it at the local hospital where some poor schmuck had to mine her freaking feces for it. Now, this happened in December. She swallowed the ring thinking, oh, I'll get away with this. No, someone saw her do it. They freaking arrested her ass. X-rayed. Oh, look, there's a diamond ring in your freaking dumbass colon. So now we're going to have to make some orderly, some nurse's aide, freaking dig through your fucking doo-doo to get this ring so we can prosecute your ass. You know they ought to, whatever it is that they give her isn't going to be enough for putting some poor bastard through this. They ought to double it. If it's 5-year sentence, they ought to make it freaking 10 and give her 10 years of probation on top of that. You stupid fucking bitch, man. God, what an idiot. Speaking of dumb criminals, there was a home. Now this just kills me. I heard this on the radio. This is one of those, I can't believe somebody was this freaking dumb, okay? In San Diego, there was a house that was approximately 500 square feet that had like 3 dudes living in it. They said that they were being overrun by cockroaches. So one of them had the brilliant idea, let's go get a bug bomb. Well, okay, so what did they do? They didn't get 1 bug bomb. You think they got 2 bug bombs? No, they didn't get just 2. Did they get 3 or 4? No. Did they get 6? Nope. They got, listen to this, 19 bug bombs. They bought 19 freaking bug bombs and set them all off in this 500 square foot house. Now, 500 square feet, people, that's small, okay? These super fucking geniuses got 19 bug bombs in this 500 foot square house. Now, 1 bug bomb was sufficient, would have been more than enough sufficient to fumigate the whole entire house. But no, let's get 19 of them and set them all off. Well, I know what you're thinking. They died, right? Because they didn't get out of the house. No. It's better than that. Death would have been just what they deserved. Death would have been what they needed. But God didn't make it so easy for them. What they did, they ignited Oh, they set off all these bug bombs, left the house just like they were supposed to, but they left the gas freaking pilot light on the stove or something, and all 19 bug bombs blew up. Now, these 19 bug bombs yielded a bomb 28 times more powerful than the necessary single bug bomb would have admitted if it had blown up. It would have caused some damage, yes, but can you imagine a small bomb going off in the house? So what happens? It blew the back end off the house. This happens in December. The Christmas tree blows up. Presents and shit are flying across the yard. Parts of the tree go through neighbors' windows. And now these guys are going to have to be stuck paying for this whole back end, this ass end of this house that they blew off. You know, they should have stayed in there and been blown up because they're dumbasses. I can't tolerate stupidity. These guys are stupid. They should be dead. They should be fucking killed because they're dumbasses. I can't stand them. Guys, come on. Give me a break. Read the freaking directions. God. Let's move on to more dumbass people. This falls under the extreme body piercings category. No fatalities that occurred in any of this. I want to make that perfectly clear up front. A chick by the name of Joy Wiggins accidentally shot herself in the heart with a nail gun. But miraculously, she was saved by doctors at Christus St. Elizabeth Hospital in Beaumont, Texas in October. How do you accidentally shoot yourself in the heart with a nail gun? How do you pick up a big-ass nail gun and accidentally shoot yourself with it unless you're a dumbass? Joy, guess what? You should have died too, sweetie, huh? Jed Bryant, 21 years old, he was accidentally shot by a nail gun, except it was not by him. It wasn't self-inflicted. It was by a co-worker. This thing went 3.5 inches into his skull in Rapid City, San Diego in January. He lived through it. Now, if it were me, after I recovered and I wasn't a freaking retard or had some kind of brain damage, I would find Mr. I'm your fucking friend co-worker, and not only would I beat him over the head with a nail gun, but I would take the nail gun and shoot a nail 3.5 inches up into his asshole and see how he liked it. Another lady, Roxanne Kirkley, absent-mindedly stood up and she hit her head on a protruding nail that was sticking out of this beam, and it went 2 inches into her skull. This happened in Dallas. I'm seeing a reoccurring Texas theme here, okay? You people in Texas must be dumbasses. Oh, you got pretty ladies, yeah, but guess what? You're fucking dumbasses. This happened in August. And then another guy, 34-year-old dude, fell and landed ass first on a rebar rod that's right, impaled him through the ass. This happened, of course, in Canada. Well, what can I say? Okay. Of course, everybody lived, no fatalities. And winding up, also occurrences that happened within the last month. Listen to this. The New York City Port Authority police, Officer Russell Bass pleaded guilty to having illegally videotaped an 11-year-old girl in a shower 2 years ago. And get this, he blamed it on the stress that he was under after he helped with a 911 rescue at the World Trade Center. The stress caused, I was stressed, Your Honor, so I acted out by taping an 11-year-old girl in the shower. The stress was killing me, and I had to videotape this 11-year-old girl taking a shower. I don't know how else I could have relieved the stress. Oh, God, fucking nasty-ass, sick, pedophile motherfucker. You know what? Being kinky with the sex, that's all good as long as ain't nobody getting hurt, okay? I'm all for it if you want to swing from the fucking ceiling wearing a diaper while you're pissing in your significant other's mouth while they take a shit on the bed. I don't care. Do what you want to do. But you know what? Make sure that they're over 18, okay? They got to be able to be aware of what's going on. This little girl probably didn't even know that anything wrong was occurring here. That's just sick. This is another motherfucker that should be taken out and shot. Just fucking shot. Not assassinated. No, you don't assassinate people like this. You shoot motherfuckers like this. He needs to be shot in the fucking dick first. And then shoot his ass in the head. Now, north of Little Rock, Arkansas, police arrested 2 alleged internet trolling pedophiles, one of whom had flown all the way in from Arizona, and the other, get this, from freaking South Korea to meet some teeny boppers that they've been talking to on the internet in a chat room. And of course, these internet chat room teeny boppers were, of course, police officers running a sting. So here's 2 other motherfuckers, some sick pedophile motherfuckers, that need to be what? Fucking shot. You don't play around with little kids. You're sick and you need to be taken out. I cannot believe that people in this day and age know that police set up stings all the time, but they continue to talk to these little teeny boppers on the internet thinking, oh yeah, this is legitimate. Send me a picture. I can get a fucking picture of a teeny bopper from a goddamn magazine. I can take a picture of my neighbor's kid and scan it and send it in too, but that don't mean that I'm really that person. That's the lure of the internet. You know, you can be whoever you want to be, look like whoever you want to look like. You know, come on, people. Don't be picking up kids off the internet. How many hundreds of thousands of stories a year do you get? Yeah, I was talking to this really hot chick on the internet, and she said she looked like freaking, Cindy Crawford, and I met her, and she was as fat as a cow, and had snot running out her nose, only had, 5 teeth in her head, and was stinking, and had 18 kids, and weighed 500 pounds. Come on, people. There's nothing wrong with meeting people on the internet, okay? It's taken over the classified ads in the newspaper. People used to meet, people in classified ads. There's nothing wrong with meeting people on the internet. Just don't do it with kids. Okay? You shouldn't even be doing anything with kids. Once again, you're sick in the fucking skull, and you need to be shot. First, we're going to shoot you in the dick. Then after you lay there in agony and bleed for a little while, then we're going to shoot you in the head. Okay. That's my news of the strange for this episode of ParaReality Radio. I just had to get some of my stuff off the air. And also, I haven't listened to the Des show lately. As you all know, I'm not a real huge fan of Des at the Des show. He has got a new website up. I don't know what the hell it is off the top of my head. But if you'll just go into your Google search engine and type the Des, D-E-S, show, you'll be able to find it. His IBC network thing is, of course, falling to the wayside. It's going nowhere fast because, Des, you're a fucking idiot. Just like these other people here, you need to be shot, okay? Do us all a favor. Get off the air. Shoot yourself in the head. Shut up. Let somebody else run this IBC thing. Because I do think that it's a good idea, but not as long as you have anything to do with it. You're an idiot. You need to die. Shut up. You're making everybody miserable. Okay? If you guys want a funny show, go listen to this guy. Unprofessional. Never a topic on the show. Never a format. Talks about his cat, Mr. freaking Stinky Butt, or whatever the hell his cat's name is. He can't even come up with any original theme songs for his show. Okay? I mean, all right. I use Inner Sandman from Metallica. I close with Bring 'Em Back Alive by Audioslave. Okay? This guy rips off Coast to Coast AM's theme. Come on. Get something a little bit more original, okay? Mine may not be original tunes, but it's an original intro for a show such as this. Because why? Because I'm cool, my show is cool, you're a dork, your show sucks. That's all I got to say about that. Listen, before I close and go off the air, I want to remind you guys, go to check out Vlad and Igor at Vlad's Vault, www.vladsvault.com. It's a horror movie review and information site. You can read reviews or post reviews of movies yourself. They have links to other horror-related sites. They also have biographies and filmographies of some of your favorite horror actors, along with a nice collection of horror-related wallpaper that you can download for your computer. Or simply visit the forum section and join in a discussion, state what's on your mind. Go to www.vladsvault.com, tell Vlad and Igor Sandman sent you. Sign up for the forums, sign the guest book, tell them hey from Sandman, and welcome aboard, guys, as a sponsor. The show's been sponsored by Vlad's Vault, www.vladsvault.com. Next live show will be Friday, February 20th at 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time over here in the U.S. of A. for those of you who are international listeners. Hope you've enjoyed this show. Shoot me an email, prradio@50g.com. That's 50G. The number 50, G. Number 50, letter G. prradio@50g.com. Shoot me an email. Let me know your theories on spontaneous human combustion. Let me know what you think about the show in general. Give me some ideas, some suggestions on what I can do to improve the show if you think it needs improving. Or if there's a topic that you would like to have me discuss on the show in the future, let me know about that too. prradio50g.com. This is Sandman. I'm going to sign off now and let you listen to one of my new favorite group, Audio Slave. This is my show outro. This is called Bring 'Em Back Alive. Love this song, love this group. I'm out of here. I'll give you a full report of my paranormal investigation on Friday, February the 20th, 2004. If I said 2003 earlier, forgive me, okay? I'm still not used to it. So, next live show, Friday, February 20th, 2004. This is Sandman for ParaReality Radio. I'll see you later, and I invite you, everyone out there, to turn on, tune in, and find out, especially February the 20th, 2004. Everybody out there, let's be safe. This is Sandman. I'll see you later.
If you wish to change, you must first lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true